My life felt like a fairy tale plucked from the pages of a romance novel. I was about to marry Julian, the man I'd dreamed of for years, my future partner, the father of my imagined children, my safe harbor in a chaotic world. Every detail of our wedding was meticulously planned: delicate white roses, a menu of roasted duck and lavender-infused desserts, a string quartet playing soft melodies, and personal touches only we understood, a nod to our first date, a song from our road trip to the coast. My mother's eyes shimmered with joy as I stood before the mirror in my white gown, its lace trailing like a whisper of dreams. I thought I'd found true happiness, a love that would carry me through life. But what I didn't know was that this day, meant to seal our love story, would unravel into my greatest tragedy. Laura Jenkins, my best friend, was my anchor through it all. She wasn't just a friend. She was my soul sister, the one who knew every secret, every fear, every hope tucked into the corners of my heart. Choosing her as my maid of honor was as natural as breathing. No one questioned it. Our bond was undeniable. Her smile radiated warmth as she adjusted my veil, her hands steady as she ensured every detail was perfect. "You're stunning," she said, her eyes soft. I trusted her completely, blind to the darkness lurking behind her gaze, a secret that would shatter my world. We chose an intimate wedding at a breathtaking estate in Virginia's rolling hills, far from the city's clamor. The venue was a dream, a stone manor surrounded by ancient oaks and blooming gardens, its grand hall with soaring ceilings and windows that bathed the space in golden sunset light. It felt like a place where love could thrive, where Julian and I would begin our forever. We rented the estate for the entire weekend, wanting our families and wedding party to share in the joy, to make it a celebration of connection and anticipation. The night before, we gathered on the patio under twinkling string lights, soft music mingling with laughter and clinking wine glasses. Julian was calm, affectionate, his hand brushing mine. Laura stayed by my side as always, her presence a comfort. Everything seemed perfect. No one could have sensed the storm brewing beneath the surface. I went to bed that night with a heart full of hope, replaying the evening's warmth, picturing myself walking down the aisle toward Julian. I fell asleep late, nerves buzzing but laced with joy, dreaming of the moment I'd say I do. Little did I know, that dream was about to become a nightmare. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the window and I woke with the giddy energy of a child on Christmas. Laura was the first to arrive, bringing a tray of coffee and croissants, her smile bright, but now, in hindsight, a carefully crafted mask. "You're going to be the most beautiful bride," she said, squeezing my hand. I felt grateful, secure, oblivious to the truth. The morning passed in a whirlwind of preparations. My mother helped me into my gown, her tears falling as she adjusted the train. My sister pinned flowers in my hair, joking about my tendency to overplan. Everything felt right. When the time came, my father took my arm, his eyes proud yet soft, and we walked toward the garden where our guests waited. The air was alive with the hum of string instruments, white petals scattered on the grass, and the tearful smiles of loved ones. Julian stood at the altar, his eyes glistening, his smile the one that had stolen my heart countless times. I walked toward him, my heart pounding with love, certain this was the most beautiful moment of my life. The officiant's words were a blur, but when he asked if we'd join our lives, I didn't hesitate. "I do," I said, my voice trembling with emotion. Julian's "I do" followed, his smile warm but fleeting, a shadow crossing his face so quickly I dismissed it as nerves. We kissed to applause, surrounded by flowers and joy, and I believed our love was eternal. The reception was everything we'd dreamed, intimate, elegant, filled with laughter and candlelight. My father's toast brought tears, his words about our love's growth echoing in my heart. Julian raised his glass, but his smile didn't reach his eyes, a distance in his gaze I couldn't place. I brushed it off, fatigue, I thought, from months of planning. After the reception, we retreated to the bridal suite, a warm space adorned with roses and flickering candles. My heart raced with anticipation for our first night as husband and wife. I closed the door softly, expecting an intimate moment to seal our vows. But Julian's demeanor shifted. He placed his watch on the nightstand, kicked off his shoes, and sighed heavily. "I'm tired," he said, his voice flat, eyes avoiding mine. I froze, waiting for a spark, a touch, anything. Instead, he walked to the twin bed in the corner, unbuttoned his shirt, and turned off the light without a word. No goodnight, no glance back, just silence. I sat on the edge of the marriage bed, my gown pooling around me, feeling invisible on the night that should have been ours. Tears came, silent and unstoppable, as I lay down, the scent of flowers mocking the emptiness in my chest. I stared at the ceiling, willing it to be a bad dream, hoping Julian would cross the room and hold me. But his breathing stayed steady, distant in that twin bed. I don't know how long I lay there, my mind spiraling, before exhaustion pulled me under. A muffled sound jolted me awake, maybe 30 minutes later. My heart raced as I sat up, disoriented. Julian's bed was empty. Barefoot, I stepped onto the cold floor, a knot tightening in my stomach. A faint groan came from the hallway, low and stifled, as if someone was trying to stay quiet. I opened the door, the sound clearer now, coming from a room at the hall's end, my mother-in-law's room. She'd left earlier, claiming illness, heading to town for medicine. No one had questioned her absence. My mind raced, piecing together impossibilities. Why was Julian in her room? I crept down the dark hallway, each step heavier, the groans growing distinct. My heart pounded, cold sweat prickling my skin. I didn't want to believe it, but something inside me knew. At the door, I pressed my ear to the wood, holding my breath. A creak of the bed, a muffled sigh, and then a woman's voice, Laura's. Unmistakable, laced with urgency and soft laughter I'd heard in countless confidences. My chest caved, the world tilting. Then Julian's voice, low and intimate, whispering her name. The ground vanished beneath me. Tears streamed, but I stayed silent, rooted to the spot. My husband, hours after our vows with my best friend, every groan was a blade. Every whisper a betrayal of our shared secrets, our promises. I wanted to scream, to collapse, but instead I waited, needing to see their faces, to hear their lies. The door opened abruptly. Julian stepped out, shirt unbuttoned, belt askew, hair mussed. He froze when he saw me, guilt etched into his wide eyes. Laura followed, disheveled, heels in hand, makeup smeared. She stopped dead like she'd seen a ghost, unable to meet my gaze. Their silence screamed louder than words. Why? I demanded, my voice raw with pain and rage. How could you? Julian stammered. You're wrong. Nothing happened. I was helping Laura with Mom's things. His lie was pathetic, crumbling under the weight of truth. I heard everything, I said. Every whisper, every groan. Laura's tears came, her apologies spilling. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. But they were hollow, too late. Julian's shoulders slumped, his voice barely audible. I've been confused, he said, as if that excused it. No remorse, no explanation, just a weak confession. I looked at Laura, the friend who'd held my secrets, now a stranger. You're nothing to me, I said. To Julian. We're done. I turned, my gown trailing, and walked back to the suite, gathering my things. The silence behind me was deafening. No one followed. I left the suite, barefoot, crossing the garden in the pre-dawn fog, my dress dragging in the dirt. I walked for hours, aimless, the cold biting my skin. The world moved on, oblivious to my shattered heart. As dawn broke, I returned to the estate, driven by a need for closure. The dining room buzzed with breakfast chatter, guests unaware of the night's devastation. My parents, in-laws, and friends laughed over coffee, oblivious to my absence. I stood in the doorway, anger replacing grief. Everyone, please gather in the living room, I said, my voice steady. They filed in, confused, my parents' faces tightening with worry. Julian and Laura were absent, their cowardice obvious. I faced the room, my heart pounding but my resolve firm. Thank you for being here, I began. This was supposed to be my happiest day. But last night I found Julian and Laura together, betraying me on our wedding night. Gasps rippled through the room. My mother covered her mouth. My in-laws looked away, shame heavy in the air. I continued unflinching. I'm annulling the marriage. I want nothing to do with them. Please respect my decision. No one argued. My father hugged me, his silence a pillar of support. My mother-in-law sobbed, her husband failing to console her. My parents' eyes burned with anger and helplessness. I left the room, the weight of their shock trailing me. I walked out of the estate, my dignity intact, the stained dress a symbol of a chapter closed. Back home, I contacted a lawyer and filed for an annulment, refusing to see Julian or hear his excuses. The woman who'd said I do was gone, replaced by someone stronger, unwilling to linger in betrayal. Weeks later, I learned Julian had moved in with Laura, parading their affair as love. But their romance crumbled fast. Neighbors reported their fights, Laura's confidence fading, Julian's restlessness returning. He left her months later, cheating again with someone new, repeating his pattern of ego-driven whims. Laura's world collapsed. Friends abandoned her, my family cut ties, and her reputation dissolved. She was alone, tasting the isolation she'd inflicted on me. I didn't revel in their downfall. I focused on rebuilding. I threw myself into my work, opening a second store, then a third. My business grew, my name earning respect in the industry. I surrounded myself with new people, learned to trust my own strength, and found peace in independence. 3 years later, my life was serene. The pain of that night no longer stung. It reminded me of my resilience. Then I met Daniel Jackson at a business meeting. His quiet confidence drew me in, not with grand gestures, but with genuine curiosity. He listened, asked about my dreams, and offered a presence that felt like home. Our connection grew naturally, built on respect and shared silences. With him, I didn't fear betrayal. I felt safe. Julian reached out once, his message dripping with false nostalgia. I ignored it. Later, he appeared at my store, worn and desperate, begging for closure. I made a mistake, he said. I lost you. I listened unmoved and told him he had no place in my life. His frustration was palpable, but he was irrelevant. I closed the door, feeling only calm. Today, I sit on my terrace with Daniel, a cup of tea in hand, the sunset painting the sky. Peace isn't fireworks, it's this quiet moment, his steady presence beside me. My stores thrive, my foundation grows, and I've built a life I'm proud of. The box of wedding memories, dried flowers, photos, the stained dress, reminds me not of pain, but of strength. To anyone who's faced betrayal, you are not your wounds. Pain breaks you, but it also rebuilds you, stronger, freer. Choose yourself, and the right love will find you. I did, and I'm whole. Did you connect with my story? Where are you watching from? Share in the comments. If you'd like to support more stories like this, a super thanks means the world. Check out the recommended life stories on screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more. With love and respect, until next time.